Welcome back, everyone. I am here with my next selections for this chapter of Evergreen Book Club, and I am so excited. If you are new and this is your first time doing the Evergreen Book Club, here's a couple of things that you need to know. Number one, Evergreen Book Club is all about Canadian writers. Number two, doesn't cost anything. I host it here on YouTube. I also discuss it over on Substack in a special group chat for paid members. If you want to pay there and you want to chat there, we can do that over there. It is growing, so my hope is that it will transform into maybe getting to do interviews with the authors or having longer group chats around the books, but we're evolving it as it goes. But the key to me is making sure that it is accessible for everyone. So it is free, there is no membership fees, there is no thing that you need to sign up for. You just need to show up here on YouTube or check out the pics on my website, catornet.com, and read along at your own pace. The other thing is making sure it's accessible in a pacing way. So the way that I do the Evergreen Book Club is I pick selections of Canadian books that are fairly accessible through multiple formats at the library. I'm usually not picking new release books, maybe every once in a while. I'm generally picking ones that have been out for a couple of years that you should be able to find relatively easy. You could borrow them from a friend, you could get them at a used bookstore, but most likely you're going to be able to find them at your public library. But I know, because I am a library lover myself, that library holds can take a while to get in, which is kind of also why I don't always pick new books, because the new releases I find I was always frustrated with book clubs because I would put a hold on it as soon as I knew it was the book club pick, but I would be number 65 on the list. So they would have read the entire book and then given their opinions, and then 3 months later I might get a chance at reading it. And I just didn't think that was like a really great pace for me. So with this, I wanted to make sure that I was giving people a heads up about what the books were going to be ahead of time. I'm announcing my picks for April, May, and June so that you can put your holds in at the library. And hopefully get them on pace so that you can follow along with what I'm talking about each month about the books. Now that we have the ground rules down, I am going to tell you what my selections are for this quarter of the Evergreen Book Club. And I'm going to be honest, there's some heavy hitters. They are some fairly thick books, some of them, but they're also pretty award-winning. I didn't do that on purpose. I picked out some books that I thought would be interesting for me to read, and I thought that you guys might like, and I was looking at sort of diverse stories, and it just so happened that they were a lot of books that were award-winning books. So there are 3 fiction picks and 1 non-fiction pick every quarter, so we go April, May, and June, and then I'll let you know what the non-fiction pick is. For the first pick, the book for April will be Mona Awad's Bunny. And I would hold it up here, but I still have it on hold at my library, so I'm hoping I get it in before April starts so I can read it. This has been a book that came out in 2019 from Mona Awad, who it's her second novel, and she's from Montreal. And it was a big hit at the time. It was on like every best of list. And it's been on my radar for a while, and I just have never gotten around to reading it. It's a book about a student who's a scholarship student at like a fancy-dancy university in New England with a writing program. And she is a bit of an outcast, a bit of a loner, and encounters a group called the Bunnies, who it's kind of reminiscent of Heathers from what I can gather. And it's deeply dark comic kind of a novel, and it seemed really interesting at this time. And everybody I've seen have raved about it, so I thought it would be a really good pick. So that is my pick for the month of April. For May, the book that I'm choosing is a Canadian classic. It's from 1959, and it is by Mordecai Richler. It is called The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz. This is not only a hit book and a classic, although I haven't read it, it also was turned into a Golden Globe award-winning movie. It's about a Jewish guy who's growing up in Montreal, and he is absolutely obsessed with pursuit of wealth and fame. It is a hefty read, and I'm going to admit that I have never read anything by Mordecai Richler. I know I probably should have. I know he's one of our great Canadian writers, but I haven't read anything by him yet. So I know he also did Barney's version. which I saw the movie of, but this is kind of the point for me, at least, of Evergreen Book Club, is making sure that I am not just somebody who knows that these writers exist in Canada, but actually is somebody who has read the books by our own great writers. If you have read this before, please leave it in the comments. I would love to know what your thoughts are on it. I always think it's very interesting to look back at books that were written in the 40s, 50s, 60s, because I know times have changed quite a bit, but it's not so far back as we're going into, you know, the older Victorian type of novels. So it still feels modern enough so that we can touch it. It's our, you know, our grandparents' kind of age. But it's far enough away that things are probably going to seem a bit like, ooh. So I'm very interested to learn and see how this turns out. But as he is one of our most famous authors, I thought that it was about high time that I got on to reading some Mordecai Richler. For June, my pick is going to be a story by Joshua Whitehead called Johnny Appleseed. Now, you probably, if you pay attention to Canada Reads, will know that this was the winner of Canada Reads in 2021. It was also a finalist for the Governor General Award of Literary Fiction. This book has been around, and I haven't read it yet. The story takes place about a two-spirit indigiqueer person who has left the reservation trying to make their way in the world and becomes a cyber sex worker, but then due to some family circumstances has to come back and deal with their history and their past and their family. And it just sounds like such a really interesting book, and definitely not like anything else I've read or seen. So I am going to dig into this one pretty deeply. Joshua Whitehead is a really celebrated two-spirit poet and writer here in Canada as well, so you might have heard of some of their other works. I am very much looking forward to getting into this in June. Then for my nonfiction pick, I went with something that has a bit of an environmental bent, and by a bit, I mean it was actually published by the David Suzuki Foundation along with Greystone Books. This is Eating Dirt by Charlotte Gill. It came out in 2011. It's all about the story of Charlotte and her tree planting journey. For 20 years, Charlotte Gill was a tree planter in Canada, and she talks about her experiences, what that life is like, about the logging industry, about clear-cut forests, and I thought it was a really interesting exploration into a world that a lot of people don't know a lot about. So I really wanted to get into this. It was the winner of BC's National Book Award for Nonfiction as well. So like I said, we got some heavy-hitting award-winning books. It wasn't my intention, but I guess we're gonna do a tour de force of Canadian literature for this quarter. As we're going through a period of time with like Earth Day, and when we start thinking about spring and the trees and everything coming out, and before we get into forest fire season, I thought it would be a really interesting take to look at what it is like, or at least what it was like back in 2011, to be working in the logging industry, or at least the tree replanting industry here in Canada. So that is it. These are my picks for this quarter of Evergreen Book Club. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of them at all already and like them, or know their authors, or have other recommended works by these authors. Please let me know below. If you have any questions or comments, you can direct them to me below as well, and I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. I can be found pretty much every day on TikTok and Threads, as well as Substack. You can also find me and any information that you need about the Evergreen Book Club at caternet.com. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to grow the book club and let more people know about it, and also just grow my channel so I can keep doing this for you. If you like books and you also like letters, you might also be interested in my other project, Evergreen Post. Evergreen Post is a snail mail club that you get a letter, a photographic print, some inspiration of how to live life a little bit more analog and a little bit offline. It's something that I started in January of this year. I'm really, really passionate about it. I want to find a theme each month to get people inspired to be experiencing life without their phones, without their keyboards, and a little bit more tangibly. So things like reading real books and going to the library is really in line with that for me. I want to make sure people are you know, just living a little bit more of an analog and more intentional and more tangible life. That is my goal for 2026. So if you're interested in snail mail clubs, you can find all that information at caternet.com as well. Until next time, I will be back, and hopefully I will have Bunny in my other hand, and I will be talking to you about what I thought of that book. I am back and better than ever. Nope, that is not a great way to say it. If you're near, I'm not explaining this well.